Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about finding evidence while reading, a search for what's important within the text so you can help build your support sandwiches. A quick little recap. The support sandwich has the steps we've talked about before: claim, evidence, warrant. If these are still terms that you're a little bit fuzzy on, make sure you go back and look at our video on Toulmin's structuring an argument. But a quick recap: the claim is your argument. It's what you're going to argue about the text, such as he's good, he's bad, some of those judgment calls you'll make. The evidence, which we're going to focus on this time around, is going to be mainly the personal experience, the facts, the quotes that you're going to pull from the text that help support your claim. Okay? And specifically, we're going to look here today about reading and keeping an eye out for how to find that evidence. And finally, that warrant is always that connection between the evidence and the claim and how it backs up your overall thesis. Okay? But today, the evidence is always going to be the first part that you need before you can even make a claim. So it's the first step is, while reading, can you pull out those important quotes? The evidence is the proof for your thesis. It's like making a wild claim, like assuming he's a murderer without having any evidence to back it up. So you need that evidence, otherwise everyone would go around making claims that no one could back up. Without it, like I said, you'd have no basis for your claims. So if you want to prove your point and be effective at it, and then have a good essay or article or whatever you're writing, you need good evidence as well. So even though when you're writing the claim the claim comes before the evidence, when you're actually going through the steps, the evidence is what you find first, which leads to the claim, which leads to the warrant. All right? So while you're reading, you might look at this sentence: Mindy turned off the light in her room and pulled out her black hat and broom. From that, you might conclude that she's evil or that she's a witch. And then finally, you'd have to prove that with some sort of warrant, like witches are easy to spot due to their black hats, brooms, and fear of the light. And since you turned off the lights and had a black hat and broom, that's your evidence. Okay? So while you're reading, you must pay attention to the text. But then you might be saying, well, what in the world is important? You know, I'm too busy reading it and I don't understand. Well, that's fine. Here are some helpful tips while reading, but it's also helpful once you've finished reading to go back through the text. And what was the most memorable thing from that text will probably end up being some good evidence for what you might want to make a claim. If you're taking notes, I highly recommend writing down everything on this slide. It's very helpful. While you're reading, I want you to search for repetition and any suggestions to bigger ideas, and then usually any sign of a literary element. So by repetition, what I mean is a symbol. If you keep seeing fire popping up in a short story or in a book, the fire probably is more important than just being a simple fire. It represents something bigger. If an idea such as free will or man's cruelty to other men keeps popping up, that might be something good to write down as well. Or really any other pattern you see within the text. If the author is repeating a symbol, an action, an idea, most likely that's them trying to get your attention to go to it. So it's probably good evidence. Anything that might suggest the text theme, such as what the author is trying to tell you, kind of connected to the author's purpose or the big ideas. If you feel like the life lesson is coming at you in the text, you might want to underline it or circle it or write it in your notes, depending on whether you can annotate your book or not. Finally, the literary elements. We see that symbols again. Imagery is a big one, metaphors, and then I bolded irony because I think especially this one's an easy one to find. When you see some sort of irony, usually one of the easiest ones to pick up on. Also, you could just look at the characters. What did they do? Did they learn something? Did they do something that you didn't really expect? That's usually an important part. Or did the character challenge someone or something? Is there some sort of conflict? Conflict usually raises our attention, and that's what the author wants us to do or to focus on, is those conflicts in the short story, article, or novel. Okay? What I want you to do now is, if you're watching this video from my website, you should see that right next to this video is a short story by Alice Walker called Flowers. It's very brief. What I want you to do is read that short story, pay attention to what we talked about on this page or this slide, and then try and find at least 3 things that you would take out as being important evidence. Once you finish that story and found your 3 quotes, I have another video after this that will go over some of the things that I thought was the most important. So, good luck. If you're not ready, go back, watch the video, and then go enjoy Alice Walker's Flowers.